happens when reckless egos collide with the deadliest criminals on earth? From a TikToker who mocked a cartel kingpin to a politician's sister who turned into a vengeful fugitive, these stories reveal the brutal cost of crossing the wrong people. How far would you go for revenge? And what price would you pay for a moment of fame? Join us as we unravel the chilling tales of those who learned the hard way after messing with the wrong people. Illuminati 6. This well-known TikToker made a serious mistake that ultimately led to his tragic downfall. To keep his followers entertained and stay relevant, he agreed to accept any dare thrown his way. One of his followers dared him to insult one of the most feared men in Mexico, Joaquin El Mencho Guzman, the leader of the CJNG. Without hesitation, Illuminati 6 took the challenge. In the video, he casually leaned against a light pole, wearing a black t-shirt and ripped jeans, with a backpack slung over his shoulder. He boldly accused El Mencho of immoral oddities and claimed that he was untouchable and immortal. He even compared himself to other social media figures like El Pirata and El Chanito de Cuyacana, who were both executed by El Mencho's cartel. Finishing off his video, he declared that he had made a pact with the devil and had no fear of speaking out against El Mencho. He uploaded the video, which quickly went viral on Reddit and Twitter. People were shocked by his reckless words, many speculating that he was either part of a cartel or simply too naive to understand the danger he had put himself in. What was even more shocking was the silence from El Mencho and the CJNG. Unlike past incidents where cartel leaders made their threats known, this time there was no response. Some speculated that it was because Illuminati 6 wasn't based in Mexico, making it difficult for the cartel to act. But the silence only added to the mystery. A few days later, Illuminati 6 uploaded another video, but this time, he was apologizing. He claimed that he wasn't mentally aware of what he had said in the previous video and begged for forgiveness. He explained that he had done it just to please his followers, without considering the consequences. This apology sparked a massive reaction online. People began to wonder if El Mencho had made a personal threat against him, or if he had simply realized the gravity of the situation he had gotten himself into. Soon after, Illuminati 6 disappeared from social media. His account was wiped and his whereabouts remained unknown. A few weeks later, another video appeared on a different account. Since then, no one has heard from him, and his fate remains a mystery. Roberto Marroquin Fuentes. On February 18, 2011, Myra Lemus hosted a lunch at the Los Cuernos Hotel in Ciudad Pedro de Alvarado, Guatemala, as part of her mayoral campaign. She had invited key community members to share her plans and discuss her vision for the future. The meeting was proceeding as expected until two pickup trucks suddenly screeched to a halt outside the hotel. Armed men jumped out and opened fire without warning, unleashing chaos. Myra and 8 others, including one of her bodyguards, were shot at their tables. From a distance, her sister, Marissa, heard the gunfire and immediately jumped into her armored truck, with bodyguards close behind. As they neared the hotel, the attackers spotted her and began firing at her vehicle. Bullets struck the windshield, but she quickly reversed and drove to the police station. However, when she arrived, the officers refused to help. When Marissa returned to the hotel, the gunmen had already fled. Inside, the scene was devastating. Broken furniture, blood, and an eerie silence. In a back room, she found Myra. She had attempted to hide, but the attackers had tracked her down. Her face was destroyed, and blood had pooled around her body. The attack became known as the Massacre at Los Cuernos. Although shocking, some locals weren't entirely surprised. Myra had a reputation that sparked fear, with rumors of past violence surrounding her. Her death marked a dark chapter in the town's political history. At that point, only 2 families remained in the race for the mayor's position. Myra's brother, Magno, had served as mayor until he passed away from a heart attack in 2009, at which point Myra stepped in to finish his term. This wasn't the first attempt on their lives. In 2006, gunmen had attacked a vehicle carrying Myra, Magno, and other relatives. They survived the attack, but their 17-year-old niece, Jennifer, along with others, lost their lives. Marissa blamed Roberto Marroquin Fuentes, Myra's political rival, for the hit. He was a key suspect, but he denied any involvement, claiming the Lemus family disliked him because of his popularity. No charges were ever filed, and Marroquin later suggested that Myra's passing was the result of her actions in the underworld. Despite how dangerous and well-protected Marroquin was said to have been, he had just made an enemy of Marissa, and she was going to stop at nothing until she destroyed him. Marissa's first plan was to go after Marroquin's political career by running for mayor herself. To boost her chances, she aligned with Roni Rodriguez, an influential figure who controlled local drug routes following Magno's passing. Roni, both a political and criminal adversary of Marroquin, was seen by many as a strong contender. But in June 2011, just months after Myra's passing, Rodriguez was also attacked in Moyuta. His passing left Marroquin with a clear path to victory in the mayoral race. Furious over the loss and the rising violence, Marissa allegedly attempted to take Marroquin's life 3 times. In November 2013, gunmen opened fire on his car. A month later, someone planted a bomb on a bridge he was supposed to cross. Fortunately, the bomb didn't detonate, and the hitmen involved fled, leaving behind weapons and a grenade. Marroquin survived both attempts on his life, but in November 2014, a third attack occurred. This time, armed men ambushed his car, injuring him, his wife, and a bodyguard. By then, however, Marissa was already in prison, having been arrested and charged with kidnapping, and even taking the life of her husband, accusations she denied. Despite her imprisonment, Marissa continued to make headlines. She became infamous, with some calling her Guatemala's female El Chapo, due to her bold prison escapes. In May 2016, she escaped with the help of other inmates, though she was recaptured soon after. But in May 2017, she made another daring escape, this time from a military prison, disguised as a guard. A getaway car was waiting outside. 2 weeks later, she was caught in El Salvador, her hair dyed red, much like Myra's. Her escape made national news, and even President Jimmy Morales tweeted about it. Back in Ciudad Pedro de Alvarado, Marroquin was visibly shaken, knowing that she would come for him. According to a source, he refused to leave his house and skipped public events until Marissa was recaptured. The fear and pressure were apparent on him as he stayed out of the spotlight. However, Marissa maintained that she had never tried to attack Marroquin. Sarcastically, she claimed that he had staged the attacks to portray himself as a victim. In her eyes, the entire narrative was part of a larger scheme to discredit her, but her ruthless reputation already preceded her, and everyone knew that she would come for blood. Now, Marissa says she's ready to reopen her case to prove her innocence, determined to clear her name and challenge the accusations that have haunted her for years. R5. 14 years after his death, the name Jesus Gregorio, also known as R5, still stirs fear in Mexico's criminal world. But it's not bravery that made him famous. It was a deadly mistake that sealed his fate. R5 once led Gente Nueva, a feared group of hitmen for the Sinaloa cartel. He was close to El Chapo and trusted with major cartel operations. Back in 2011, R5 made headlines for the massacre in Veracruz. On September 20th, during rush hour, 35 dead bodies were dumped on the streets. Notes left at the scene claimed the victims were criminals. Gente Nueva took credit, saying they were fighting back against the Zetas, another brutal cartel known for extortion and killings. They tried to paint themselves as heroes, standing up for ordinary people. But by 2008, Gente Nueva had already left Veracruz and moved their fight to Chihuahua. There, they joined the bloody turf war around Ciudad Juarez. Their methods were extreme. In 2008, they stormed the Rio Rosas bar and ended the lives of 11 people. In 2009, they carried out attacks on drug rehab centers, trying to destroy anyone linked to rival groups like the Zetas, La Linea, and Los Salazar. Civilians weren't spared. Gente Nueva used fear as a weapon, and many innocents paid the price. R5's fall came when he crossed a line even the Sinaloa cartel disapproved of. Without permission, he launched attacks against the CJNG. It was a reckless move. The CJNG is one of the deadliest cartels in Mexico, and they didn't take the attack lightly. R5 had underestimated them. The fight he started was now coming back at him with full force. It was just past midnight in Hermosillo's Colonia Pimentel. R5 was behind the wheel of his 2012 Volkswagen Passat with his 16-year-old girlfriend, Kareli Nzunza Aguilar, sitting beside him. They were just out for a late-night fast food run, nothing out of the ordinary. But as they drove, unknown gunmen appeared out of nowhere and fired shots at them. Kareli was hit twice, but she survived. R5 wasn't so lucky. Both were rushed to the hospital, but within an hour, 33-year-old Villanueva was gone. Doctors couldn't save him. Laflaka. Born in the 1990s in the tough town of Tamaulipas, northeastern Mexico, Jocelyn Alejandra Nino, better known as Laflaka, was no stranger to hardship. It's unclear exactly why she joined the Gulf Cartel, whether it was family ties or financial struggles. But by high school, she was already recruited into the cartel. Starting as a lookout, or halcone, Laflaka quickly proved her worth. Her slim, youthful appearance earned her the nickname Laflaka, meaning the skinny one. Despite her age, she quickly rose through the ranks, becoming a feared hitwoman. Her innocent look often fooled her enemies, allowing her to carry out dangerous tasks with ease. Laflaka primarily worked in Tamaulipas, targeting rivals from a faction known as Los Metros. But on January 15, 2015, her life took a tragic turn. A photo of her holding an M4 rifle was leaked online, a mistake that would seal her fate. In the violent world of cartels, exposing a top sicaria's face means the end, and this photo quickly spread across social media, putting a target on her back. The photo showed Laflaka standing confidently with a rifle in her hands, her bright smile and golden pendant standing out against her Kevlar jacket. Her delicate hands gripped the weapon with surprising ease, and the tattoo on her right forearm that read Nino was visible. Within months, she became a target for both the police and rival gangs. On April 13, 2015, Laflaka's luck ran out. She was sent into enemy territory, Rio Bravo, by her boss, Citron Siete. It was a deadly mistake. In Matamoros, Tamaulipas, police discovered an abandoned truck. Inside was a cooler containing dismembered body parts. One of them was a slender arm with the Nino tattoo. More of her remains were found scattered around the city, alongside 2 other victims. It was clear that Laflaka had been tortured, shot in the head, and mutilated. Los Metros were responsible, leaving a chilling message. This will happen to anyone who supports Los Chiclones. Sabrina Duran Montero. October 23, 2023, was a shocking day in southwest Santiago. Popular TikToker and influencer Sabrina Duran Montero was gunned down in broad daylight by 2 cartel hitmen. But how did a TikTok star end up being killed by the cartel? In May 2022, Sabrina was arrested along with her brothers for drug trafficking in Peñaflor. She was charged and jailed for running a drug operation. Authorities said she was the leader of the group, involved in drug collection, sales, and other crimes. Her group was also in conflict with a rival gang in Las Praderas. The feud between them grew violent, and that conflict eventually led to her death. As the violence increased, fear spread through the area. The Chilean government responded by sending 100 detectives to crack down on criminal groups. Sabrina was arrested while trying to escape through the back window of a house. While serving her 3-year sentence, she started posting on TikTok. Using the name Katrina Guzman, she shared beauty videos and quickly gained over 610,000 followers. She also went by La Ina, calling herself the TikTok narco queen. It's still unclear how she managed to run her account from prison. Her videos didn't show anything illegal, mostly beauty tips and product promotions, but they got attention. She wore gold jewelry, expensive clothes, and built a strong following. Over time, people began to glorify her image as both a cartel leader and a social media star. That attention made her a target, not just for rivals, but for her group. They saw her as a threat and decided to eliminate her. On the day of her passing, Sabrina was on her way to a nail salon in Santiago when 3 hitmen stopped her. They dragged her out of her car and shot her 8 times. Afterward, the assailants drove her car away, setting it on fire a few miles from the scene. A bystander captured the moment on camera, showing Sabrina bleeding out helplessly on the ground. She was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance, but it was too late. The blood loss was too much, and she passed away before she could be saved. Her death left everyone in shock. The Chilean authorities launched an investigation, but no arrests were made. The identities of the assailants are still unknown, and no apparent motive has been found for her brutal murder. Before we move on, let's check out today's subscriber's pick. On the left side of your screen, a man in a red tracksuit is seen walking down the street, appearing to hold a gun. On the right, that same man is flat on the ground, with 2 men in suits standing over him. Though the image is AI generated, it captures a reality that plays out far too often. Wannabe gangsters getting a brutal wake-up call. According to a study in the American Journal of Public Health, gang members in urban areas are up to 60 times more likely to be attacked than young men who stay out of that life. And it's not always rival gangsters pulling the trigger. Sometimes, it's the community itself. Ever witnessed civilian jungle justice? Let us know in the comments below. Rodolfo Fofo Marquez. Better known as Fofo, this social media influencer was born into wealth, and he seized every opportunity to flaunt his extravagant lifestyle. He posted pictures of himself with flashy cars, nights out at exclusive clubs, and a lifestyle that many could only dream of. The more he showed off, the more his followers grew. Soon, he had more than 3 million followers on Instagram, earning him a reputation as an influencer. But Instagram wasn't enough for him. Fofo made his way to TikTok, where his fan base continued to grow. However, with fame came trouble. His attitude, fueled by his wealth, began to stir up drama. Fofo became known for his massive ego and sense of being untouchable. His posts often rubbed people the wrong way, and before long, many were waiting for him to fall from grace. In his passionate attempt to keep his fans engaged, he decided to create some unconventional content, something that few have ever done before in Mexico. On July 7, 2020, Fofo took 3 of his luxury cars and parked them in the middle of the Lemus Bridge in Guadalajara, Mexico. He got out of one of the cars and started filming the traffic that was building up right behind him, boasting about his power and wealth. He also casually explains that he closed the bridge because he wanted to demonstrate his influence and, according to him, what money and power can do. Unaware of the danger before him, he continued to gloat and contemplated doing some TikTok dances while the helpless drivers honked and other people were trapped in the gridlock. Unaware of the fact that his reckless decision to block traffic on the bridge would ignite the masses' annoyance. The mayor of Guadalajara threatened to file legal charges against him for his irresponsible stunt, and TikTok management officially banned his account while removing the video within less than 48 hours. It was then that Fofo realized he was not untouchable as he had thought, and he went on to other social media platforms to tender his apology, which people accepted. The mayor insisted that he complete several hours of community service, cleaning underneath the same bridge he had blocked, which he complied with. Still, unfortunately for him, the CJNG was watching him like a wolf in the shadows. Just when the outrage of the people over his stupid video had died down, the CJNG reignited the entire case with a message sent to Fofo Marquez. The cryptic message was sent to him through an anonymous account named Gente con la Gente NG, which translates to people with the new generation. The message then begins to circulate on social media. In the message Fofo received, the cartel condemned Fofo's reckless act of blocking the Lemus Bridge. The message called him an animal and vowed to bring justice to him for his actions. They also made one thing very clear. They controlled Jalisco and, by extension, the entire country of Mexico. Fofo had made a massive mistake by challenging their authority in Guadalajara. They threatened him with dire consequences, warning that no amount of money would protect him if he ever set foot in the city again. His wealth, they claimed, wouldn't save him from their wrath. Fofo knew all too well that no amount of security could protect him if the CJNG truly decided to act. In a panic, he quickly issued a public apology once again and fled to his family's mansion in Mexico, hoping to hide from the cartel's reach. The idea of hiring armed guards crossed his mind, but even that wouldn't be enough. The CJNG had taken down deadly hitmen squads and entire battalions of the Mexican army in the past. Fofo had no illusions about the level of danger he was facing. For days, Fofo stayed holed up in his mansion, too terrified to even look out a window. He carried a transceiver to keep in contact with anyone who could help him if things took a turn for the worse. His world had become a cage of fear, with no escape in sight. Thankfully for Fofo, after several months, he was able to return to his life. Miraculously, the CJNG did not follow through with their threats. He had been given a second chance, but the damage to his reputation was done. Eric Ramirez. March 24th, 23rd. Eric Tadeo Ramirez from Laredo, Texas, made a deadly mistake that ended up costing him his life. Eric bragged about stealing $50,000 from one of Mexico's most dangerous cartels, the Cartel del Noreste. Just hours later, around midnight, a group of men stormed his house. They arrived in a blue pickup truck, masked and armed. They grabbed Eric and forced him into the truck. As they crossed the Laredo International Bridge into Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, Eric tried to escape. A security camera captured the scene. Eric, bloodied and desperate, attempted to flee the moving truck, but he was quickly pulled back inside by force. By the time Eric's girlfriend and sister realized he was missing, they reported it to the police. Witnesses revealed that Eric had been talking to a woman on the phone just before the abduction. During the call, he bragged about stealing from the cartel and said he wasn't worried because he was in the U.S. Days later, on March 27th, authorities arrested Jonathan Cabriales, a member of the cartel, at the port of entry. He had been driving the same truck used in the kidnapping. Cabriales admitted he knew about the $50,000 theft and was charged with kidnapping. But Eric is still missing. The rest of the kidnappers have not been caught. Michael Mosca Torres. Known as Mosca, which meant fly in Spanish, Michael Torres was a key figure in the Mexican mafia, controlling gangs and criminal activities in the San Fernando Valley and Los Angeles County jails. He was initially part of the San Fer gang. He was inducted into the Mexican mafia in 1994 by founder Luis Huero Buff Flores while at Pelican Bay State Prison. After serving 16 years for manslaughter, Torres was released in the early 2000s and became the mafia's official tax collector in the San Fernando Valley. A witness described him as having significant influence, with every neighborhood in the valley paying him. On June 12, 2003, Torres went to an apartment in North Hills looking for David Diablo Mendoza, who had been falsely claiming to be a Mexican mafia member. When Mendoza approached and lifted his shirt to show his tattoos, Torres shot him in the chest. Later that night, Torres's associates forcefully took a gang member named Smokey, who had informed Torres about Mendoza. They assaulted Smokey, but he managed to escape. When Torres was arrested for his crime against both men, detectives searched his mother's beige stucco home in San Fernando. They found bundles of cash hidden in a crawl space and an extra $6,000 inside a coffee pot. Despite having only a 5th grade education, Torres represented himself in court as his lawyer. A witness told prosecutors that Torres was representing himself to stay longer in Men's Central Jail, where he was collecting a tax on all drug sales. Smokey, who was in custody on an unrelated charge, was visited by a woman who held up a note to the glass partition in the visiting room. The note threatened Smokey and his family if he talked to the police. Smokey believed Torres had written the note. Mendoza testified that Smokey, not Torres, had shot him. A year after the trial, Mendoza's life was taken in North Hills by an unknown person. Torres was convicted of the part he played in Smokey's passing. threatening witnesses, and other crimes, and was sent to prison for life. 9 years later, he took control of the Los Angeles County jail system from his prison cell. He oversaw the Mexican Mafia's 2 main jail rackets: the Kitty, a pot of commissary items collected from Latino inmates and sold, and a 1/3 tax on all drug sales. Torres was a hands-on leader, constantly calling his crew with contraband cell phones, demanding reports on all earnings and the people involved. According to an associate, Torres divided the profits from Men's Central Jail among all Mexican Mafia members. However, he kept a separate cut from the Wayside Jail, splitting it with fellow member Jose Joker Gonzalez. The weekly intake was around $12,000. Outside of jail, Torres taxed local gangs and drug dealers in the San Fernando and Antelope Valleys. He funneled this cash into legitimate businesses and real estate, as noted by gang members working under him. He was also facing federal charges for conspiring with the Aryan Brotherhood to traffic heroin. On July 6, 2023, Torres, at the age of 59, was brutally attacked in California State Prison, Sacramento. He was serving a 133-year sentence for multiple serious crimes. The attackers were identified as Ray Martinez, 49, a Mexican Mafia member nicknamed Cisco, and Juan Angel Martinez, 47. Both were already serving life sentences for murder. The exact motive behind the hit on Torres remains a mystery. However, his ruthless rise from the streets of San Fernando to dominating the largest county jail complex in the country left a trail of enemies. Whitey Bulger. James Whitey Bulger grew up in South Boston as a street fighter and thief. By the time he was 14, he had joined the Shamrocks gang and faced multiple arrests. After a stint in a juvenile reformatory, he joined the U.S. Air Force in 1948. Still, frequent offenses led to several incarcerations, and he was finally honorably discharged in 1952. In 1956, Bulger went to federal prison for armed robbery and hijacking, where he participated in the CIA's MK-Ultra drug experiments for a reduced sentence. After his release, he took on various odd jobs before joining mobster Donald Killeen. He gradually rose to the top of the mafia underworld, eventually becoming the leader of the Winter Hill Gang. During the 1980s, Bulger expanded his criminal empire: extortion, bookmaking, hijacking, arms dealing, and drug trafficking, while avoiding surveillance. He extorted drug dealers, forbade sales to kids and PCP use, and violently removed rule breakers. He also funneled weapons to the IRA during the Troubles. In 1994, fed up with his criminal influence, the DEA and state police launched a RICO investigation. Bookmakers' testimonies about protection payments contributed to building a case against him, but Bulger was able to go into hiding for 16 years. On June 22, 2011, at age 81, Whitey Bulger was finally arrested. He was no longer the feared boss. He spoke freely to authorities, angering top mafia figures who believed he was talking to reduce his sentence. On July 6, 2011, Bulger pleaded not guilty to 48 charges. While in custody, he was attacked by a fellow inmate nicknamed Retro, suffering severe neck and head injuries, but the case proceeded. After 2 months and 72 witnesses, the authorities played Bulger after he had revealed secrets, and he was convicted of 31 counts. Evidence showed he had been promised immunity by the FBI, which was never honored. Bulger's health worsened, and due to threats and misconduct, he was moved across several prisons. On October 29, 2018, he was transferred to Hazleton Penitentiary in West Virginia. Unknown to everyone, the mafia bosses whom Bulger had exposed had already placed a hit on him even before he arrived at his new prison. Early that morning, taken out by inmates using a padlock in a sock and a homemade knife, he was left unrecognizable. The main suspect, Fotios Freddy Gayash, a known mafia hitman, was sentenced to 25 years for Bulger's passing. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.